I would like to amplify the remarks made recently by my colleague from Utah, Senator Hatch, our distinguished ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee, concerning the year-end tax legislation, what's called the Tax Extenders Bill. Senator Hatch was entirely correct, it seems to me, when he said that getting this legislation through the Senate had been an ordeal, an unnecessary ordeal, not only for the Senate, but more particularly for every person in business back home in my state of Kansas and also throughout the country, Utah, Kansas, wherever in the United States. And I'm talking about farmers, ranchers, small business owners, manufacturers, all of their employees, in other words, the backbone of our economy. It's a real shame that the longer-term extenders deal developed by the chairman of the tax committees and the leaders in the House and Senate, yes, you heard me right, both chairman, House, Senate, and both leaders have agreed that basically this deal that was reached before the Thanksgiving holiday has collapsed. The deal included a number of very critical items, including a permanent simplification of the research credit that would help businesses plan and invest in job-creating innovation. The package also included a number of provisions for which I had worked very hard, including special depreciation and expensing rules that are very important to agriculture small business. The plan also included bipartisan legislation I developed with Senator Schumer to modify the research and development tax credit so that it could be more easily used by smaller businesses where the bulk of technological innovation really occurs. The plan also included long-term extension of legislation that I have pushed to make sure smaller businesses are able to access the capital they need to grow and hire new employees. Now, Mr. President, these provisions are not giveaways. They free up capital and cash that can be invested and recycled into economic growth. That's a good thing. We should have done that. These provisions do not fit within the class warfare debate. Actually, it's not a debate, but rather a diversionary tactic that actually took place. Shouldn't have even been mentioned. A veto should have never even been forthcoming from the White House. I have heard the complaint that the proposal was too business-focused. Well, since business today is mired in a swamp of regulation and guessing games and unpredictability, the focus of a so-called tax extenders bill should have darn well been focused on business. Not every person in America works for our growing government. The deal would have also helped individual taxpayers, from teachers taking a deduction for school supplies they purchase with their own money, to help for homeowners who have defaulted on a mortgage or face financial hardship, to deductions for college tuition and expenses. These provisions would keep more money in the pocket of taxpayers, a better place for it. The package represented months of good faith work by the tax committees and leadership in both houses of Congress, something unique that we have experienced around here for quite a while. Now, obviously, the deal wasn't perfect by any stretch, but it would have been a great down payment for true tax reform. But most of all, it would have brought certainty and clarity to tax policy, something we sorely need and which is long overdue. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Earlier this week, I visited with farmers in Kansas at the annual Kansas Farm Bureau meeting. About 1,000 farmers attended. One farmer who shared his views so that pretty much everybody around him could hear told me he had recently purchased new farm equipment, combines and tractors, so that his family could step up work on their land, expand their operation. And he was upset. Actually, he was not upset. He was mad because we have, quote, according to him, we've been messing around in Washington too much with the extenders bill. He was mad because if the equipment expensing rules aren't extended, he's out of many thousands of dollars. That's just a portion of what he has been spent, or what has been spent. But that's money he would have used to buy more equipment or more land, the productive use of capital, and not some trivial amount used for a vacation or something else. And it's not this gentleman, not just this farmer. My phone has been ringing off the hook all month with calls from farmers and ranchers, equipment dealers, other businesses who need to know whether this will get extended or not. And they too are upset, make that mad. They're frustrated, and they need us to get to work to help them run their businesses and their lives. Yes, even with the recent blow-up, we will extend these tax provisions, but only for 1 year, a month, and then we'll be back at it next year. And these folks will be in the same position, the same kind of purgatory, wondering whether we will ever come to our senses, wondering whether to buy that new tractor or to buy the new production line or to hire new employees. Every day when I visit with business owners and taxpayers in Kansas, I hear over and over one simple refrain: Senator, we need certainty in the tax code. We need to be able to rely on a stable tax system so we can plan and grow our business. Senator Pat, the Congress needs to do something about these tax extenders. Well, I couldn't agree more. And I think most of us, if not all of us, on the Finance Committee, the Senate Finance Committee, couldn't agree more. The lack of certainty about these tax provisions is bad for American families. It's bad for business looking to create jobs, and it's bad for our economy. It leaves businesses unable to plan ahead and invest because they're left in the dark about what tax provisions will affect their operations. So what happened to the deal? Why are we at this point debating another kick of the can down the road? Well, the imperial presidency has happened. The president has decided that instituting an executive amnesty was the best course of action before the end of the year. President Obama's immigration grenade doomed the tax extenders deal. Real negotiations unraveled. A veto threat was issued, and the bipartisan compromises were killed. Because of President Obama's my way or the highway approach to leadership and to amnesty, Congress is now forced to once again cobble together a one-year tax policy patch that basically nobody really wants. This hurts families, job creators, farmers, ranchers, teachers, everyone who needs to plan ahead to succeed. So instead of working with Congress to develop an immigration reform compromise, we have the most arrogant attack on the Constitution I've ever seen. Once again, the president placed partisan politics above the needs of the middle class, our workers and business owners, our students and teachers, and indeed our entire economy. Without this unprecedented illegal executive order, we would right now be discussing a long-term extension of the vital tax provisions. We could have maybe even voted on it as of this year, as of this week, laying a strong base for a comprehensive tax reform. Instead, the president has sacrificed job-producing economic policy for the expedience of the executive action. As I have said elsewhere, the president has seemingly no interest in a constructive working relationship with Congress. He really didn't have any intention of listening to the will of the American people, and he has no respect for the constitutional boundaries of his office. This is beyond troubling, but its spill over into other areas, like tax policy, does not bode well for the bipartisan development of policy to build the economy that we so desperately need and that we were so close to achieving. But let us be hopeful. Maybe something good will come out of this whole situation. Maybe we will recognize the level of dysfunction illustrated by the executive order. And I hope that it will point us back to regular order. It is critically important that we return to regular order in the Senate, in particular with all of the major fiscal issues that we face. Bringing the extenders package through the Finance Committee was a strong sign that we mean business and that we are ready to move on a bipartisan basis to address the fiscal issues that are facing the country. Sadly, that effort was sabotaged. Without that action, we would be moving toward a more sensible bipartisan pro-growth extenders bill and perhaps well on our way to tax reform. That we are not is really a shame. It didn't have to be this way. Mr. President, I yield the floor.